Hi guys, good morning. Welcome to the channel. This is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice here in Guelph, Ontario. So how do you choose the immigration consultant or a lawyer when you're venturing out with your immigration journey to Canada? So that's the topic of the day today. So I know, and like all of us know, that there are thousands and thousands of immigration consultants and lawyers sitting around all over the world. And everybody is trying to make their quick buck in the promise of helping you to get to Canada. But there are certain characteristics, there are certain technical factors that you should be aware of. All of you, the potential aspirants of Canadian immigration should be aware of if you were to deal with a immigration consultant or an immigration lawyer. The first and foremost aspect that all of you should know is that the immigration consultant or a lawyer should be licensed. And by license, I do not mean a local trade license or anything like that. I'm not talking about the business license. I'm talking about the immigration license, because as you know, by law, if I were to deliver services for Canadian immigration, and if I have to charge you money in lieu of the service or the advice, I have to be licensed by the Immigration Consultant of Canada Regulatory Council, as they were called ICC before, and now it is called ICC. I have to be licensed enough before I charge you any form of payment, right? And if you're working with an immigration lawyer, the lawyer has to be licensed by the respective provincial bar association to do their business, or in order for them to charge money, for the services to be rendered, from their client. So the first and foremost thing that you should be aware of is that the person you should potentially work on with your immigration has to be licensed. There are multiple ways to verify the licensing. For example, I am licensed by the ICC and my licensing number is 709205. You could go to the ICC website, just write down my license number, and you will get my information as well as my company information. So if somebody tells you that, I am a licensed immigration consultant, you should ask for the license number and then go to the ICC website, check for yourself and see, whether the person is genuinely licensed or not. The reason it is important for you to check this factor beforehand, because when somebody is licensed, first of all, the person is capable enough to deal with Canadian immigration. Secondly, the person is then legally allowed to charge you money for any form of advice or the service that the person is going to potentially provide to you. And thirdly, and most importantly for you as a client, you are then protected, right? If, for example, if you end up working with me and if I do something incorrect that I'm not supposed to do by law or the regulations, you could report it, you could report that to the ICC, and then ICC is going to take action against me, right? Which is why the designation that we get, we consultants get, is called regulated Canadian immigration consultant, which means we are regulated by somebody, by some regulatory authority. And the purpose of that regulatory authority of the ICC is to protect the public, is to protect you. And hence the responsibility lies on you to check that you are working with the licensed immigration consultant, or if you're working with a lawyer, that lawyer has to be licensed by the respective bar association of that particular province. Now, in this age of information overflow, you cannot really say that, I do not know whether the person is licensed or not. The ICC believes that the responsibility lies on the clients to check the authenticity of the consultant before there is any monetary exchange. So always make sure you check the license number yourself. You do not have to ask, you just have to ask for the license number, and then you can go to the ICC website, put on the license number, and then you could get all the information. Always remember, the consultant is licensed. It's not the company license that I'm talking about. You should check the license number of the consultant. A company that the licensee is a part of gets registered by default. But then you are checking the license details of the person, not the organization. And to repeat it, I'm not talking about any trade license here. I'm talking about immigration license here. That's very important, number one. Number two, the retainer agreement or the initial consultation agreement. And what I mean by that, whenever you engage with an immigration consultant or a lawyer, the person should sign a retainer agreement with you. The retainer agreement, ICC has a very standard template that talks about some standard clauses, some standard terms and conditions, and then obviously the payment structure and everything, and that is in between you and the consultant as well, whatever you guys mutually decide on. But always remember to sign the retainer agreement before any sort of monetary exchange takes place, right? No matter how trustworthy that consultant or a lawyer is, the responsibility lies on you as a client to sign the retainer agreement. And I personally, suggest all of you to go through the retainer agreement beforehand. You have the legal right to ask for the retainer agreement. Go through that retainer agreement. If you do not understand any legal clause, if you do not understand any specific term, the responsibility lies on you to make sure that you are clarified on each and every aspect before you pay even $1 to a consultant. Right? So the retainer agreement serves as a proof of the payment that you make the payment. You make the potential payment to the consultant. That serves as a basis of that, and also gives you the legal protection from the ICC. If something goes wrong and if you report that consultant to ICC, your retainer agreement should serve as a proof of your working relationship with the consultant. If you do not sign a retainer agreement, legally you are then not that much protected. And any genuine lawyer or a consultant should always sign a retainer agreement with you. If somebody is not ready to sign a retainer agreement, and I would go on to the extent to say that if somebody is not ready to share the retainer agreement with you before you make the payment, that probably rings the bell on your mind, right? So the retainer agreement, always take the retainer agreement, go through it, understand it, make sure you sign the retainer agreement, the consultant countersigns the retainer agreement. That retainer agreement should talk about everything legal, all the terms and conditions, including the payments, all the government fee and everything whatnot, and it should serve as the basis of your relationship with the consultant. So number 2 point is a retainer agreement. The third, no consultant or a lawyer, as regulated by the government of Canada, is legally allowed to give you any sort of guarantee, warranty, assurance, surety, success rate, and all those things. You do understand, by law, we are allowed to give a service to the clients to the best of our knowledge. Now, if the file is not successful, right, then it's not my fault, it's not your fault, then there must be something else, and then the decision lies on the government of Canada. What I mean by that is, no consultant or a lawyer is legally allowed to tell you that, if you work with me, your process is like almost guaranteed that you will be in Canada within such and such time. This is illegal. Nobody is allowed to say something like that. Nobody is allowed to commit to you for any outcome of the process. The outcome could be positive, the outcome would be negative. It obviously varies on a lot of factors. But no consultant or a lawyer can tell you that, if you work with me, our process is going to be guaranteed. So talking about guarantee, warranty, success, assurance, and all those related terms is highly, highly unlawful. And if something is coming out to be way too true, actually to be true, that should ideally ring the, bell on your mind. So no guarantee, no warranty, no chances of success. Chances of success is something that obviously you can discuss with your consultant, but nobody could tell you that, if you work with that person like XYZ, your process is like 100% guaranteed and whatnot. So something to be taken care of. Fourthly, immigration consultants in Canada or the lawyers in Canada are not allowed to charge money for the employment assistance. This is a huge scam that is going on currently, and unfortunately even people are still paying money for the job assistance. And I have said this in the previous video and I will repeat it in this video as well. Nobody in Canada is allowed to charge money for an employment assistance related service. And immigration consultants are not supposed to be helping clients with the job search. That is the responsibility of the recruitment consultant. And the recruitment consultants are being licensed differently. They are being remunerated by the employer and not by the client. It's something like that. It's the exact same situation that may be taking place in your home country as well. If you want to work, for example, with Microsoft, you do not pay money to Microsoft to interview you and you do not pay money anybody else for the Microsoft to interview you or to give you a job offer letter. They have an opening, you have the skill set, both of you meet, and if it is a successful meeting, then you get the job offer letter, right? The exact similar thing happened in Canada as well. There are recruitment agents that help, but again, they are being remunerated by the employer, not from you. They should not charge you any money, and the employment assistance, as I've said, is a very different aspect from immigration. No immigration consultant or a lawyer is legally allowed to charge you money for the employment assistance. right? So these are some of the important factors that I think you should be paying attention to. Now there are many other subjective factors as well, like for example Google reviews, for example Facebook reviews, for example all the social media thing. Personally, if you ask me, I'm not a big fan of checking Google reviews and whatnot, because you know what, everything could be faked, right? You have people that will write reviews for you if you pay them money. All those things do take place. So I do not rely a lot on the Google reviews and whatnot, because those could be very, very easily faked. As a personal story, the moment I launched my company, I start getting emails from all across the world that you pay me $75, I'll make your rank in the first in Google, I'll give you 50 positive reviews, 100 positive reviews a day. And I don't personally believe in those kind of business practices, but hey, you never know, right? I'm not saying the Google reviews are fake. What I'm saying is I do not have any authenticity for myself to check whether that particular Google review is genuine or not. Sometimes I could check and tell you that whether the review is genuine or not from the language, from the tone of the review, but hey, you do not really have time to do all that on your own. So it makes sense to follow the technical steps, the licensing, the retainer agreement and all those things to ensure that you're in safe hands, and then try to give your best shot. So these are my 2 cents about it. If you have any questions, let me know. If you need my professional assistance, just send me an email at contact@nuvonation.ca. Shall be glad to connect with you. Thank you very much and stay safe. Bye now.